Beautiful. And we are now live on the Hill Community Awareness Forum. We're going to push now to Facebook Live. Give us just one moment, please. And we are now live on Facebook, I believe. Travis, are you able to pick up the stream to push to your Facebook page as well?
I'm checking now.
Thank you, sir. And there's a tiny bit of a delay, by the way, everyone, just so we know.
I'm going to work nights.
Travis, one moment. We're still setting up live, just a second.
Got it now. We are live. Yes.
Beautiful. Welcome to the Hill Community Awareness Forum, the Hill Foundation. Travis Berry, our lead, is here with us. We've got Pastor Sean here with us. Thank you for all of your support all the time. Miss Marquette, who minds our money. Thank you, Miss Marquette, for being here. Representative Inez Dickens, Assemblywoman. So glad you're here, and thank you so much for the support that you give us. Community Affairs from the NYPD 26. We have Officer Ureña and Officer Olses here. Detective Harper is usually here with us. Our condolences to his family as well. And we have educator Tanya White, who is our education lead for the Hill Foundation. So we are all here bringing forth some incredible and important community challenges. Our illustrious lead, Travis Berry, is here to open us up, talk a little bit about the Hill Foundation, and let's introduce Pastor Sean and open up. Oh, and my name is Nyla Christian, Life Inspired, Hill resident, long-term, my heart, my home. Travis.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Travis Berry. I want to just thank everybody for being on this platform right now. And as we move forward, we want to invite Pastor Sean to open us up with a wonderful prayer.
Father, in the name of Jesus, we're so grateful for this day. We thank you for your goodness and your mercy, your love that you have towards us. Father, we lift up the Hill Community Facebook Forum. We thank you for these powerful leaders who are on this call tonight. We ask for your wisdom. Your word says, what does God require of us? To love, to do justice, love mercifully, and walk uprightly before our God. And so, Father, we come walking uprightly before you. We thank you, Lord God, that you're orchestrating our footsteps. We thank you that we have your wisdom. Thank you for your peace ruling our life. We pray for our elected officials today. We thank you that you said when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. Uproot the wicked and put righteous men and women into office this day in the name of Jesus. We seek after your presence. We call forth the blessing of the Lord on our community this day. Your blessing make rich and it adds no sorrow. So we call forth our community is blessed, our children is blessed, and everything this community put their hands to, we prosper. So we give you praise. Now we give you permission to be a part of this forum tonight. Move on behalf of your people this day. We thank you for Nyla and Travis. We thank you, oh God, for everyone on this call, Marquette and Assemblywoman Inez Dickens and Tanya and the officers of the 26th precinct and Dion and Elizabeth, everyone on this call. We thank you. And Lord, continue to enlarge our territory, expand our borders. We just give you praise for what you're going to do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Wow. Ooh, powerful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Pastor Sean. We know that we've gotten support from Representative Inez Dickens' office, and we are very, very grateful. Lamont, thank you so much for your coordination. It has been wonderful working with you. I know you and Travis had a moment to meet and had a good conversation. Travis, you want to jump in here?
Hey, Lamont, how you doing? How's everything, brother, man?
Everything is well. Everything is well.
Good. I had a wonderful conversation with Lamont in this office, knowing that he's the chief of Inez, and just to see what they're doing for the community is amazing, man. Things I didn't know about, things they're involved with around various communities, how we all can come together with the police, the community, the church, education, empowering us, wanting all of us to be healthy inside the community, getting more grocery stores that accommodate our needs in the community. So, I mean, Lamar, I can go on and on, but I want you to say a couple of words yourself, sir. I appreciate it.
The only thing I can say is that I've had the honor and privilege of working with the assembly member when she started in the city council. I've been with her office under her tutelage since 2006. I've told her on a number of occasions that everything I've learned or understood about government in school had nothing compared to what she was able to teach me in the office, speaking with constituents down at City Hall, up in Albany, in terms of how laws are actually done, how funding for your community is actually achieved. And it's all through smart negotiation, through personal connections with the people in charge of certain agencies, with people in the community, and being able to bring those connections together. And the thing I've understood and loved and appreciated about the assembly member is how her forethought and thinking long term to bring benefits to the community is what I've always appreciated about her. And that's something that has kept me in terms of achieving more for our community, fighting for our community, and understanding more from her in terms of how that gets done. So the only thing I can say right now is please welcome New York State Assembly member, the fighter for Harlem, the fighter for West Harlem, the fighter for Washington Heights, and the fighter for East Harlem, Inez E. Dickens.
Representative Dickens, we're going to take you off mute. There we
You
go.
take me off now? Can you hear me now?
We hear you now.
It feels so good when your staff, especially when it's it's a staff that starts with you when you're beginning, and you stay together over the years, and they feel that way about you. They're working with you. They recognize what you want to do, because sometimes the community doesn't recognize what you're doing, because you cannot be everything to every individual.
We have a bit of a delay, but that's okay. We're going to wait for the signal to catch up with Representative Inez Dickens, who obviously moves faster than the signal. We'll wait a few for it to catch up. As she gets back to us, Travis, some of the things that you and Lamont were talking about in terms of making sure that there's a connection with Assemblywoman's office and the residents of our community. I know that we have a few more things that are kind of on the plate or on the fire, waiting for us to kind of get this first piece going before we start some new things. But I know that we're grateful. We're grateful. You two came away from that meeting with so much excitement. I know you had a few things, a few bugs you put in my ear, Travis.
I'm getting a lot of compliments, but it's really, you're only as good as your staff. So I just wanted, can you hear me now?
We are glad you're back. Absolutely. We were just filling time for you to get back. We know we have some important.
I'll keep on going. I wanted to talk about, could you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Am I?
Your signal's a little bit.
Well, I'll keep talking. We started just for a moment to suicide prevention, the program. I think 3 states. Hello, where if you legally have applied part of the application process is mental health insurance.
So Lamont, what we're going to do, we know that we're having a little bit of signal issue, and I think we keep dropping Assemblywoman. So if you want to help us maybe contact or connect with her.
Will do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That would be great. And we can jump right back in where she was, probably with voter education and information, and then we can come back around to that mental health piece.
Sounds great.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Which pushes Officer Ureña and Officer Olses up a little bit to put you guys on the spot. Hello. Travis, you've also been instrumental in this connection, so please take it away.
Hi.
Travis, you're on mute.
And hello, guys. How you doing? We just want to thank you for being a part of this platform also. We thank you for the things you're doing for the community. It's a pleasure that I have an opportunity to be a part of the 26th precinct and also part of the Hill, trying to bridge that gap, trying to learn more about the policing situation also, and how can we make our community strong on both sides. And so to have you guys here to talk about a couple of things about what you do for the precinct, what you're doing for the community, and how can we help you guys, and what can you help us, what can you bring to our community? So just some of the things like how can we find out some of the information about what you guys are doing in the 26th precinct?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So as I introduced myself earlier, I'm one of the community affairs officers here. My name is Johanna Ureña. I work along with Detective Harper. Unfortunately, as it was mentioned before, he couldn't be here. He had a death in the family, and we'll keep him in our prayers. And basically what he had left me and what the email that I received, it was to touch base basically on what we do as part of community affairs and the NCO officers. But as far as the community affairs aspect, I want to talk about a few things which are youth programs that the 26th precinct, not only the 26th, the NYPD offers to our youth. especially during the time of era that we're living in with the COVID situation. As we know, most of the kids they're home. Some of them, even when they're not in school, they're out in the streets. So how can we help? How can we be of help? How can we actually bring that gap that we have with our youth, you know, to bring them into our precinct, to be welcome to our precinct, and actually be, you know, be of help for them. So I have I've been doing the Explorers program for the past 9 years at the 2-6 precinct. And every precinct, not only the 2-6 precinct, offers the NYPD Explorers program. So basically what the Explorers program is about is a group of kids, of youth that come to the precinct, and we meet once a week. Even during COVID, which has been difficult, we're still meeting with them via Zoom. So basically what we try to do for these kids, we teach them a little bit of the law. They don't have to be necessarily be law enforcement, but we want to teach them to stay off the streets. That's the bottom line. We want them to have an open home. We want them to be welcome to the precinct. We want them to know our names. We want also get to know them. That when I'm walking the beat, or one of the officers here walks the beat, they could say, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" You know, for example, Rogelio, how you doing, Aaron? So basically, I meet with them once a week. We had a movie night not that long ago, outdoors, an outdoor movie night, right in front of Community Board 9. And it's just an example of what we're trying to do with these kids. So we basically, like I said, we meet with them once a week. I know I'm limited of timing, but we meet with them once a week. We teach them a little bit of law. They come, we host trips. We teach them CPR. We help them, you know, they help us also do graffiti cleanup. They do community service. I'm sorry.
Sorry, we got breaking news. Can we just let Inez get back on for a second, then we can come back?
Sure. No
Thank you.
problem. Yes. Mhm.
I don't know what happened, and I don't know how far you heard me. I had mentioned about the we were discussing about gun permits. Did you hear any of that I was discussing? No? All right, what I quickly said, number one is that we were talking about the gun permits. New York State is one of the toughest states in which to get a gun permit. And that we had talked about mental health being part of the application process when you apply for a gun. I believe you get it for 3 years once you're approved. And if it becomes law, it would be, mental health would be done every 3 years, would be part of the process in order for you to be approved for a gun license. I also added that it's states' rights about gun permits, and that's why it hasn't been a uniform approval of how a gun permit can be had, because it would take an amendment to the Constitution for the right to bear arms. And although it's possible, it's very difficult to do. And it federally, I'm talking about, and it would require all states to agree to it. And that has not occurred. And I don't know if it ever will, because in many of the states, particularly in the southern states and out west, where they bear arms, they don't want the law changed. So although New York is very, very tough. So I just wanted to add that. I wanted to also say that 2020 has been a very difficult year, economically, socially, morally, because of this pandemic. A lot of our small businesses has been impacted negatively. Many have gone out of business, and even those that have not gone out of business are suffering and teetering on the edge. There has been several loan programs and several grant programs that have been available, although not fairly were they given, because in the beginning, although they were supposed to be for small business, they were given to the big boys. The larger businesses scooped them up, and not the small businesses. And it wasn't until the second round or the third round that that was made possible. So I just wanted to put that on the table. They are trying to do some additional things for the small business, other than the payroll assistance that they had, that would help the small business. The 100 Black Men had a grant program that they were given to small business that were on the that had the difficulty in getting these loans. The 100 Black Men had a grant program for our small businesses, but it was a little too late, when it came, and so many of our businesses suffered. I want to also speak about the ballot. There's, it's a battle for the ballot. We've got to get out and vote this year. It's imperative that we get out. I know they talk about New York being a blue state, but the truth of the matter is that we've got to understand that all states must be protected and taken. We must not take any vote for granted. We've got to get out there. And those who want to vote by paper ballot, they can send for their ballot by mail. They can go online and do it. They can call up and do it, and have their ballot sent in. If they want to mail it in, they must remember they have to sign in 2 places. They must sign the ballot itself. Then they must sign the envelope that the ballot goes into and seal it. Then there's a second envelope that all goes into, and it requires 2 stamps, not 1, 2 stamps, in order to properly mail the ballot. If you're nervous, as many people are, and I don't blame you, although I understand it can be tracked and this and that. I understand the fear because I sent for my ballot and I haven't put it in the mail yet. However, if you choose not to mail it, there's early voting is going to start on Saturday, this Saturday, October 24th, and it's going to run until Friday, November the 1st. And there's going to be sealed ballot boxes. Now, please be aware that the ballot box is going to say Board of Elections on it. Be aware. And if you have any question, go in and ask the police officer inside or any of the poll workers to ensure that that's the correct ballot box. And you can then drop that sealed envelope into the ballot box with your signature twice. Drop your sealed envelope in that ballot box. It's going to be picked up every night by the Board of Elections in order to be counted. That way you don't have to worry about it being mailed, or you can take it to 200 Varick Street, 10th floor, and you can deliver it to Board of Elections directly. So if you're nervous about it being mailed, although this time they have a scanning, one of those scanning things that they're supposed to track it. Even with that, if you're nervous about it, you can drop it, fill it out, complete it all the way. And you can then sign it in 2 places, put it in the envelope. You got to sign the ballot, then put it in the envelope, sign that envelope and put it in another envelope and take it to one of the early voting sites. We've got 5 early voting sites here in Harlem. 175, PS 175 on 134th Street between Malcolm X and Adam Clayton Powell. That's between 7th and Lenox. We've got the Forum, which is at 601 West 125th, which is corner there on Way. We've got Wadley, high school, which is on 114th Street between Frederick Douglass and Adam Clayton Powell, which is between 7th and 8th. We've got the West Side High School, which is on 104th Street, 140 West 104th Street, I think it is. Is that, I don't know whether I said 4th, but, and there's a 5th one which I can't remember right now. But there's 5 places, and you can call the Board of Elections to get any of those. That, but please remember, there are other locations, downtown Manhattan, in Washington Heights. I just was talking about the locations in Harlem.
Assemblywoman, these are
And where you ordinarily vote during that time, any location you can go to and cast your vote, because it's done by computer now. Now on November the 3rd, which is the general election day, your poll will be open. Your regular polling site, wherever you ordinarily vote, will be open, and you can then go in and vote then. This is early voting I'm talking about before. But on a general election day, you can go in and vote. And one thing I want to remind everyone, judges are on the ballot. And it's important that we not forget that we must also vote for judges. Yes, we vote for president and vice president, very important. We vote for Congress, very important. We vote for senators, and we vote for Assembly Member Inez Dickens. But we have judges, and we must always remember that we vote judges in that come from our community, that look like us and recognize our culture. And we must recognize that we must vote them in as well. So there's judges on there just as well. And flip the ballot over. It's 2 sides. It's one side, and then you got to flip it over. So there's 2 sides to the ballot. It's not just one side, it's 2 sides. Please keep that in mind. Now,
super
any other
important.
questions? And we were talking about, we would also had mentioned earlier about the ability to understand fiscally what we need to do about our money. I've been advocating for years that that's something that needs to be taught in school from the 1st grade. Starting to teach it after you get out of school in high school is a bit late. And when I was in school, in public school, you used to have a little savings account that you could put your 5 cents in, and take got built up enough 5 cents, you could take 5 cents out and get a little small container of milk and 5 cookies. But it taught you how to save and how to spend for yourself. So, I've been, it's very, very important. And it needs to be in our public school systems, and it needs to be taught from 1st grade. So now that I've hit upon
I think that there's something important, actually, Assemblywoman. There's a couple of things that we need to double back on, and I'm sure Lamond is going to help us with this. And I want to welcome a few more people from our committee. We have Derek Burke from Star Power Collective, and we've got Sid from More Graphics, who really helps us with our website, because one of the things we need to do is the information that you are giving us on, number one, small business support, especially in the time of COVID. Those grants and those loan programs, we need to make sure that we're posting that information so that it's accessible for our residents, our neighbors, and our supporters on thehillreunion.com, which More Graphics actually has helped us host and continues to keep the information live for those resources. The second thing is any information on voter education. We have some information on thehillreunion.com, but we want to make sure that we've got all information needed, not only for early voting, but for voting sites. You gave us 4 to 5 polling sites, so we need to make sure all of that information is on our website as well. Something else that we want to close out with is tenancy awareness. We were aware that that's one of your platforms, especially during COVID. If we could get a little bit about that and then post some information on the website, that would be great. And then we're going to come back to community affairs at the 2-6.
All right, well, you know, the governor, it's been short term. Many people are lost their jobs, or their jobs were temporarily closed down, as you know, which meant people that had very little money coming in, because they only could, and it was very difficult because the state was not prepared for the enormous amount of people that were going to require unemployment. And even though unemployment you got whatever the unemployment was based upon how much you were earning, plus originally 600, and I think they cut that down to 200 additional. It was just wasn't enough, and people were behind in their rent payments, their mortgage payments. They were behind in everything. They had never had food stamps because most of these people were working, and they couldn't cover the cost of everything. And some didn't have help with families. Some did, some didn't. And the courts were shut down, and they had no place to go to for help. My office did over 16,000 requests for help for unemployment insurance. Even though we were not the Department of Labor, our office became an advocacy. And during COVID, even though we were working remotely originally, because the office adjacent to mine, someone had gotten COVID, and we had to be shut down and sanitized and whatnot. And then they closed all the offices down in the building. But we were still working remotely. And it was very difficult for people. And even though the governor was signing almost every 6 or 8 weeks that it would be no evictions, there was a moratorium on evictions, it was fearful for people because they weren't sure whether he was going to sign it, in another 6 weeks. And so people were afraid. There were several organizations who were strong advocates working hard on behalf of the residents. And we wrote letters to many owners advising them that there was a moratorium and they cannot evict a person because they didn't pay their rent during this time. And I'm an owner. So I know the hardship and the difficulty that owners were. I'm a small owner, I'm not a big guy, but I'm an owner. And I know the difficulty that we're faced with. So it's like a catch-22. If you don't collect your rent, you can't pay the real estate taxes, you can't pay the water bill, you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay the insurance, and you can't pay the union worker from 32 BJ who cleans the building and makes small repairs. You can't pay his salary so he can pay his rent wherever he lives at. You can't pay for maintenance, proper maintenance. That means you're not gonna be able to pay for heat and hot water when wintertime set in. So I know the difficulty, but also how do you get that rent to pay those things out of tenants who weren't employed any longer? COVID had shut jobs down. How do you do that? It's not fair. And I recognize that as a building owner, small building owner, I recognize what small owners were going through, because some of the big, gigantic owners said they could go 2 years, but small owners of small buildings, like 30 families and less, they couldn't go 2 months without getting payment. But I advocated for the tenant because that was the thing to do. And I also advocated for the small owner not the big one. There's no Band-Aid for this, what happened in 2020. There's no Band-Aid you can say, well, wipe out all rents and it's all taken care of. It's not that simple. It's not that easy, because if it became that easy, then it meant that the small owners were going to lose their properties. Small owners would lose their properties. The big boys could come in and take it over by block, by block, by block, by block, and move
Absolutely.
out the people that live there. And we would no longer have a foundation in which to elect Black and brown legislatures any longer. And so I'm thinking ahead for the future, not just for today, but for the future. And so that's why I've advocated strongly on behalf of the residents, but I also advocated with the governor's office, and the New York delegation, congressional delegation, that they've got to look after the small owner as well, because the city already had a tax lien that they had to get the governor to stop, because they were selling the property, getting ready to sell the liens. They don't sell the properties, but they were going to sell the lien that was owed on properties, and then the person that bought your lien forecloses on you, and you lose your property.
So
And
Assemblywoman,
nobody was taking that up. Everybody was just saying, "Oh, don't pay nothing, don't pay nothing." Well, that's not the way to go. That's not going to help. That's not going to help us in the city of New York. That's going to make us lose our properties to those that don't look like us. So I advocated for the tenants as well as the owners, because we in the small buildings, we're all the same. We're all the same culture, the same color, and we've got to stay there. That owner and that tenant has to stay there. So I was advocating for both. And most of the small owners were advocating the same thing. They didn't want their tenants to lose out, because what are you going to do when you've got an empty building? You can't pay it either. So that's why it was very, very difficult. And so they've opened up the courts now, but it's such a backlog that, what difference does it make? And most of the small owners, like what we have in Harlem, for instance, we've got a few big buildings, but a lot of the buildings still block by block are buildings that are like 30 family or less. And they're Black owned buildings, brown owned buildings. And a lot of them, the owners live in them.
So the questions that we have are, if I'm a tenant, where do I find information and resources for support? And if I'm an owner, where do I find information for support in order to keep my property?
Well, number one, you can call my office. That's to get started. You can call my office at 212-866-5809 and ask for Lamond. Now that's just to get started. And we're trying to set up some help for the small owners. Right now, they've got help if it's a less than 4 family or less, but not for like a 10 family. There's no help for him. So I've been working very hard, and I've been speaking with colleagues that are making legislation for 4 family or less to expand it to like a 20 family or less, or 30 family or less, because that's what's in my community. So we're trying to work on getting that amended, because if you don't, then Black people are going to lose their properties. And then for the residents, my office will get into touch with the owners. If they're in a smaller building, most of the owners are understanding and trying to work with them. If it's a big building, sometimes it's a lot more difficult. One of the owners came to us about a building, but they're receiving Section 8, and it's a state subsidy, ultimately a federal subsidy, and I'm going to have to write to the federal government to try to get some help. because there's some miscommunication going on here. So that makes it a little bit difficult because that also is a not-for-profit that I'm talking about. So they're Black owned and they're having a hard time. They're having a very hard time, but they can call my office. I have sent tenants, residents to other programs where I'm unable to help them because usually it just takes to get an understanding between the resident and the owner. But if I can't get that down, then I usually will send the tenant, and there's no real help either for the resident. Although there's some like Catholic Charities will sometimes give a little help one time, maybe twice. You know, there's a little bit of help out there, but not a whole lot. Particularly if they were working and for whatever reason the unemployment doesn't come through or it's insufficient, that becomes a real problem, let me tell you.
That's really good information. I think that I've flashed a couple of times before your office, Assemblywoman, and Lamont has been very instrumental. We'll also have the information linked to our website. So we've covered some gun reform. We've covered some voter education and information, a lot of it, as a matter of fact. So thank you very much for that. We've covered tenancy awareness. And we want to make sure that we invite you back because that conversation about gun reform, community policing, community reintegration after incarceration, and how mental health supports all of that, how behavioral health supports all of that is a conversation we want to have. We're gonna say thank you and turn back over to our community affairs at the 2-6 as soon as they are back in their piece. Travis, you want to jump in?
I just want to say thank you so much. And I've held several forums on formerly incarcerated coming back into society, those who might have lost their rights to vote and need to regain them, need to ask for them because they're no longer on, they finish up with parole and they're entitled to vote again. I've had several forums on that, very successful. I've had them in several places, about 4 of them in several parts of the district in order to be of assistance just on that very topic.
Very, very important to our community. We want to welcome Russell Baptist, who's also part of not only supporting our education committee, but is going to be part of having that talk about how behavioral health supports community integration. So we're really excited to have that conversation with your office and to hopefully do a roundtable discussion on that information as soon as possible, hopefully first quarter. Thank you so much, Assemblywoman. Travis?
Well, Travis, thank you so much. Thank you both so much for having this. The Hill Foundation, thank you for the work that you've done over the years to sustain the family environment that still exists up on St. Nicholas Terrace. And the work that you've done over the years is very important. I've got a Zoom call that I was due to jump on at 7 o'clock, but I just wanted to say thank you to you.
Thank you so much. We want to also just make sure that we welcome in Stacy Thomas, who's been part of keeping that tradition for years and years and years now from 49 St. Nicholas Terrace, where I'm from.
Oh,
Hey,
very much so, very much so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Travis?
And what you're doing for the community. Well, welcome. You guys are back on to tell us a little bit more about what you're doing. I guess moving forward, do you have any success stories about what you're doing for youth in the community and what you're doing in the community for us?
Well, based on success stories that a lot of the majority of my kids that have been involved in the Explorers program are in college. They're successful, college students. We have one that he was not directly under my umbrella, but I know of Zach. He's working upstairs in our detective squad. He was actually under the when I got to the program, he was under Detective Harper. So he actually, from a former explorer, now he's a detective in our squad upstairs in the 26 precinct squad, which is, amazing. And not only that, but, we had a couple of kids that, they actually moved on to becoming, college students. So, and they come back and pay us a visit.
That's
And
good.
we also have like brothers and sisters of those older ones I have left. I still have them in my program. So this is a big family. And I would like for, to expand it, like I said, we just want the precinct to be an open house. Even if, if they don't want to come every once, that's fine, but at least to familiarize ourselves with these kids, that might, be wanting to just hear, like an advice, a college reference or resume to be helped out. Not only do as an explorer coordinator, we also work along with the youth officers, and we do job fairs. We do events for the community involving youth. So it's a really interesting program. And these kids, believe it or not, like nowadays they need like volunteer service hours to actually, graduate from high school or even use it as a referral. So it's a good program. It's open doors to a good program so they can get that letter of recommendation or to get community service hours.
Okay, so it's a lot you just talked about. Community service, working with the police. You have a guy that worked inside the Explorers who's a detective right now. So how do we get that information? Where can we find the information at?
So you could actually log on to nypd.org, and the information, you could actually Google it. You could actually go to youth services, and it will give you like a drop down of youth explorers, immigrant outreach, LGBTQ outreach. It will give you the Citizen Police Academy. It will give you Reform and Reinventation Collaborative. It will give you the Clergy Liaison Program, which Sean Atkins, she's one of our clergies here at the 26 Precinct, and I'm in charge also of the Clergy Liaison Program, which is the clergies working along with the police officers, working along with their community, working along with their precincts. Also, they have the NYPD Community Center, and we also have Build the Block meetings that are run by the NCO officers.
Nice.
And also, Travis, just to mention that all of our, before I hand it over to the NCOs and they could talk a little bit of what they do, we also inform the public on our Twitter and also on our Instagram page. And for those, who are not computer, knowledgeable, or they, are seniors, we actually reach out to them, during our community council meetings, which are for the 26th precinct. It was slightly changed for the third Thursday of every month. And right now we're holding our meetings during Zoom, via Zoom.
Good. All right.
Go ahead. That's it.
How you doing, everybody? How you doing, Mr. Berry? How's everything? My name is Officer Alsis. I do want to introduce my new partner, Officer Tavares.
Hey, how you doing? Well, we already met on the terrace.
Yes.
Remember.
So as part of being a neighborhood coordinator, also, like you've heard Mr. Berry say a few times, is bridging that gap. Like Officer Urania spoke about with our youth, we also want to involve our young adults and get them to see police from a different view, a different perspective. We understand that things are different, that the times are not the best. So Mr. Berry and I work hand in hand through conversation. We meet up on the Hill and we try to discuss bridging that gap. That's kind of our motto to our conversations, bridging that gap. How can we get the community in which we honestly spend more time with than at our own home? How do you get to see us in a different light? See us as that officer that they can say, "Hey, Officer Alsis, how you doing?" Not, "Oh my goodness, it's Officer Alsis, let's run." So that's where we are today. We November 18th, we're looking to have our quarterly meeting. I'm hoping that everyone here will attend. It will be in person, not Zoom. We're going to try to see if the Zoom aspect can be introduced. That's a tentative date. Once I get a solidified location, I will send an email blast out to everyone. That way we can have this same conversation in person, and at the same time, make everyone aware of what's going on in what I like to call Sector Charlie. We are, my partner and I, NCO Charlie. That consists of West 125th Street to West 141st Street, from St. Nicholas Avenue all the way to 12th Avenue. So we cover the northern half of the 26th precinct. We'd like to know about any quality of life issues that may be on anybody's mind. No issue is ever too small. I urge people that anything that is a police emergency, obviously 911 right away. But something that you feel that it's on a more personal level that myself or my partner can take care of, just to make sure that our community is safer and more relaxing for our residents is what we're looking to accomplish.
We appreciate everything you guys are doing for the 26th precinct, for the communities from 125th to 145th Street. We had to take this conversation on to another plateau because right now we have to move on to another segment of the forum with Nala. I'm getting a lot of beeps in my ears.
I would like to say just good night. I am excusing myself of the meeting. Unfortunately, I have to go. And also, I just wanted it before I let you go. I wanted to mention that my captain, which was this, I had mentioned this before, but it was before it was being recorded or live. She couldn't make it today because she has classes on this particular date, but she would love to attend any future meetings and love to be part of this in the future.
We thank you.
Good night, everyone.
That's our new commanding officer at the 26th. Yes, Captain Sarubia?
Sarubi.
Sarubi.
Yes.
Okay.
I love your accent. Yes, yes.
I try.
Great, thank you.
So, there was a good segue there, Travis, because the segue was we were talking about the youth and we were talking about making sure that we're taking care of and supporting our youth. We're obviously incredibly interested in any of the programs that the 26th does that we can support, and we can make sure that we're a conduit for information to make sure that they know how to get in touch with those programs. They know how to introduce themselves to our community affairs officers. That's super important. So thank you so much for that. And it's a good segue into our education piece. So thank you very, very much for what you all are doing. And we want to welcome educator Tanya White, who is supporting the Hill Foundation in terms of what's going on in education, what's going on with our residents, what's happening with our students. And the beautiful thing is when we began talking about this, Tanya immediately started talking about how she calls the two ends of the education spectrum. In terms of the traditional education spectrum, the bookends. But then you topped it off, Tanya, with this piece about the digital divide.
Yes.
Which is incredibly important because we need to make sure, again, our students are getting the information that they need in a way that is culturally competent, in a way that is effective, in a way that's substantive. So we'll start at the end of kindergarten. I'm going to kick it to you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Nyla and Travis, for inviting me to participate this evening. You know, the Hill will always be part of my family. You guys know I'm a born and raised Harlem resident. And when Travis reached out to me about participating, I, of course, wanted to because I get joy in talking about young people, particularly in teaching and learning. And so what came to my mind was where we are, right? Dealing with COVID and the state of affairs in our schools. And when I thought about the bookends, kindergarten and high school, right? The two ends of traditional school, I thought about how it's affecting them. And so kindergarten particularly, I am an early childhood educator. I've been doing this for 32 years. And so I started out as a kindergarten teacher. And it's the most exciting time in schools to watch the youngest people come to school and learn how to read and learn how to write and become mathematical thinkers. And this time is very challenging for lots of reasons, right? I'm gonna kind of integrate the digital divide in there, but when you think about kids at 5 learning to read, I am a reading teacher as well. How do you do that over a computer? How do you do that remotely? And so making sure parents are aware of the options, teachers are educated and given support. As Nyla mentioned, I'm an educator. I've been a principal now for about 7 years. And so part of my job is making sure the pieces fit together so that we're providing educational equity to our children in particular.
I'm the mother of a college-age child.
Yes.
Actually, they were written up on NPR because what they did is close down the campus, and actually they're having a social experience and a social experiment rather. Whether or not they're truly there to learn, and will they close down their campus, and will they actually adhere to social distancing practices? And it turns out that they are, because they're excited about learning, and they don't want to be shut down because campuses across the country are being shut down. So we know that COVID is at this point kind of unending. We don't know what's next, but Tanya, can you talk a little bit about this being our new normal?
Yes.
Where are we headed, and what are we prepared for? And there's no precedent, but how are you as educators, how are you setting the precedents?
Yeah, there is no precedent, and I akin it to riding a bike while you're changing the tire, right? So we're trying to figure this out as we go along, to be 100% honest. And so we had to develop reopening models. What did that look like for families? Because, you know, families wanted their children in school for the socialization, and for also because families had to go back to work, right? And so right now we're re-examining, we're readjusting, thinking about the needs based on October 20th, which may be a different need than it was September 8th when school started, right? And so schools have to be flexible, but yet clear about not lowering our standards as far as high expectations. My mantra is high expectations, no excuses. So I don't want COVID to be an excuse. It is a challenge, but I don't want it to be an excuse for still trying to provide the best for our kids. But it's changing, Nyla, every day. There's no one answer because we're figuring it out. This is new to everybody.
You know, putting a few people on point here, we've got Russell Baptist, who's also a community educator at the other end of the spectrum. Also, Denise Coleman, we want to welcome you to the conversation as well. I know that you are part of the New York City education system. It's an interesting piece right now. How are students, how are they showing up for their required coursework? And what's happening there in terms of, are we falling behind? You know, we're coming very quickly towards the middle of, the middle of the year. How are they keeping up? That's for either any of the educators that are online. Sid Washington, I know you're an educator, even though you've gone on to bigger and more beautiful things. Any of the educators can weigh in at this point. Russell, I think you're on mute. There we go. Russell Baptist.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Good to see all of you. Good to see my neighbors. I love it, I love it, I love it. Well, it's like so currently as a psychotherapist, I'm also a college professor at Columbia University as adjunct, and I'm teaching grad school, second year grad school, and everybody's stressed out. They really are stressed out, and Tanya's right. We're doing this as we go. I'm trying to not give exams, changing the way you do things. You have to be flexible. Yeah. Using more TED Talks and videos, because you really have it's for what I like about this on this side, on the adult side, it forces us to rethink. What I don't like about it as an educator is I can't see everyone. I can't see the interaction. I can't see what you're doing, But it's interesting.
It's funny that you say that. I had a parent say to me, and again, I'm long past this time, but I had a parent who had a child, an elementary school child, who was online in school and came to their mother and said, how do I stop the teacher for a while? How do I pause the teacher? Because they wanted to go play and do whatever they were doing. So it's an interesting transition. Stacey, I know that you're in support also in education. If you want to jump in the conversation at any point, please do. Tanya, you did something that's really great. You shared with us some resources. I want to go ahead and flash that now. Just for any parents, this is information. Thank you so much to More Graphics also for putting this together for us. But these are some of the resources that parents can use to keep in touch, to keep their students in touch. We even have that last that last link, Tanya, is that for the public library?
Yes, yes, it is.
Are there any support programs at the public library that we should be aware of right now?
Yes, so I get emails quite regularly, almost every day, from the public library of workshops they're giving families, how they're supporting virtually as far as books for kids. You know, a lot of, especially for kindergarten, you know, that's my passion. You know, they learn to read in school, they have lots of books in school, and then unfortunately at home, some of our homes don't have the same resources. So the public library is offering that to families along with free websites that parents can pull books from. So yes.
Yeah.
How do we I'm just saying, how do we kids that, or the parents who depend on eating food in the morning time?
Yes.
And to eat that particular morning because they can't afford it.
Yes. So schools, public schools and charter schools have to provide, still have to provide breakfast and lunch for communities, for children. And so parents, families should contact their school to find out what time is breakfast and lunch, even if they're home learning remotely. I have 2 times during the day that my families come for breakfast pickup and lunch pickup. We must provide that for our families. If it's not their home school, it should be a school within walking distance. So yeah, they should contact their school and find that out.
And how do you deal with the single parents who are working one job and sometimes not able to bring their kids or not being able to be on that Zoom call with them because they have to go to work and don't know if their kids are going to work actually?
Yes, so it's difficult. And again, they're relying on their support system, you know, the aunts, the grandparents, the uncles, to help their child get online. And so I think we have to be flexible, right? I'm on phone calls 7:30 at night, helping families log on so they can get the lesson. We record our lessons during the day so that families don't miss them. And again, it's thinking outside the box because I have families that don't get home till the evenings, or families who come in the morning and class has already started and they're saying they don't want to be late. And I'm saying, get online no matter what the time. And my teachers have office hours, we call them, times during the day and evening where they can reach out. Now, again, may not be the same at every school, you know, but it's pushing families to advocate for their children. What I tell my families what I say to them is that you are your child's best advocate. And if you can push me to think differently about what I do for kids, then you are a blessing to me. And so again, my phone is on, they call me, I'm trying to figure this out. This is new for me too. I'm like, okay, let's try this Google Classroom one more time. And again, that's what we have to do. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and it's different. And again, you know, this is history we're creating right here. So here's a question for you. Tips. I am, this is my first year. I am a single parent. My child is going to pre-K to kindergarten. I need to set up school for my child. I don't know anything about this because this was not happening when I went to school. What do I do? What do I do, Principal White?
Yes, so I say to them first, set up a space in your home that your children feel safe and they feel they can show how smart they are. So put in that space, whatever makes them comfortable, whatever colors bring them joy. It should be a place that they want to be, they want to sit at. And then I say to them, put up language and literacy, write their name, put it up, write names of family members, let them draw things that you would want to see in a classroom. We want to try to mirror that at home. And again, books, and more books. Read to your child. You give the same book to your child every day, but read to your child. Put up the math, put up the numbers, you know, start with how they spell their name and how they sound at their name, things of that nature. I'm not asking my parents to become their teacher. What I am asking my parents to do is push themselves, don't be afraid, and work with us because, again, we're all in this pandemic together, all of us.
Right.
That's so.
I see Russell's is chomping at the bit. Russell, you have something.
Well, I just wanted to commend Tanya, first of all, for all of this information. And also, my concern has always been, as far as secondary education is concerned, is when we lose our boys from 8th grade to 10th grade. And so I'm afraid with this pandemic right now, we're really going to lose our boys between those years. And so I just wanted to just put that out there, that extra support needed at that time for the junior high school.
Yes.
That's when dropout rate.
Yes.
Which takes us to the other end of the spectrum, because the question is, how do I start school, right? But how about our children, our students who are graduating right now? This is a tough year.
Yep, tough year. And if we think about this past spring and what was going on as children were high schoolers were graduating and mixing graduations and dealing with that, you know, we have to think about what support we can give families, right? So who are the guidance counselors? Don't wait to talk to them in the spring. Talk to them now. What courses does my child need to be able to graduate on time? What mentoring programs can we put together virtually? Like Russell said, we don't want to lose our young men, right? What role models can we bring into school to support our young men so they're not dropping out of school? So it's a sense of urgency we need to have now and not wait.
I like that, Tanya. I just want to make a couple of announcements. One, thank you, Artie Green from he's an entrepreneur, does a lot of music. Thank you, Sam Douglas. I think he works at Millbank, and I missed somebody. So thank you guys for being a part of this. You guys some time in. Thank you, Barbara. She is a supervisor at a group home, and it's a wealth of knowledge on this platform right now. So Tanya, what you said is so wonderful. I think as you saying all of this right now, I would want to volunteer if I can volunteer on a Monday at a school. Doesn't make a difference.
Absolutely.
Because I think just me being a person, I have something to give the kids.
Absolutely.
I think a beautiful thing as well to kind of transition this a little bit into what the connection is with the community. You know, Marquette has been very vocal about the Hill Foundation becoming aware of what the other nonprofit, whether it's nonprofit or it's for-profit, but whatever other organizations or resources for us. And I'm sure that there's some, you know, education-focused groups in our community that we could tap into too, Theo, if we want to look at Travis, if we want to look at volunteering, whether it's 100 Black men, whether it's 100 Black women, whether it's you know, the Harlem Development Organization. What are the other organizations that we can tap into that we can connect this education piece to? So I think that that's probably a second or support conversation that we can have. If anybody else wants to weigh in, I want to definitely swing it over to you, Marquette, so we can talk about our new events coming up.
Just to piggyback off of what you said, there's recently been 4 sports organizations that work with the youth that have been awarded grant money. So in the Harlem area, one is Figure Skates of Harlem for the young women, Street Squash, Dream, which does baseball, and I can't remember the other one offhand, but there are like after school organizations who are still functioning and still providing that support and service for the youth. So definitely want to make sure that people, when they're looking at these different nonprofits and organizations, to understand there are organizations that are geared towards the youth that are still out there, that are still trying to work and are doing things even during this pandemic that could be of support to the young people.
Absolutely. And like you said, Sharon Cohen is figure skating in Harlem is at Riverbank State Park at my job. So they do a wonderful job for kids from here to Chicago. Wendy Hilliard Foundation Gymnastics is a great program also. So we all have resources. We just need to pass them on to each other. Stop holding them in your pocket. Pass them out. I know Artie has a lot of resources. Sam Douglas, Russell have resources. Denise is also an educator. Let's share this information with each other so we can empower our youth. We need everybody involved with this. You too, Stacy. You're an educator too. You got your mask on. I don't know where you at. You're probably in your house. I don't know what you're doing.
We appreciate the mask either way. So in the interest of time,
at the hospital with my mom, just left my mother. So
blessings to your mother, Stacy. In the interest of time, we're going to just do a quick recap. So we had Assemblywoman Inez Dickens talk about tenancy awareness, talk about voter education and information. She also talked a little bit about small business resources, about COVID resources, and COVID resources on both sides of both tenant and owner. That information can be found on her website, and we again have shared that information, which I will share at the end of this, but we also went to our community affairs department with Officer Ureña and Officer Osas. And we didn't mention, and you're on mute, Travis, but we didn't mention that you are part of Sector C as our community liaison, as our neighborhood resident liaison. So congratulations for that. And we appreciate you. You want to talk a little bit about that before we wrap up this part?
Yes, thank you, Nala. Yes, I'm a part of Charlie, Sector Charlie for 26th Precinct. And I'm advocating for the community and also for the 26th Precinct to bring information back on both sides. How can we empower our community? How can we get more youth involved with the police, with their programs, as they said before, the Explorers program, volunteer at the precinct. So I think this is a great way of doing this. I'm excited. I mean, unfortunately, Harper couldn't be on, but he is such a nice young man. Over the past, I believe, 11 years, I've been talking to Harper along with the community, trying to do things in the community. And he's always been a positive young man, trying to put us in the right door to get certain things that we would need to strengthen our community. So, I mean, the 26th is doing good things, and we have to do good things in our community too, also, by having educators like Russell, Tanya, entrepreneurs like Marquette, educators like Denise, who else? Artie, Derek, with the radio station. You guys are doing wonderful things, man. We just need to share this information to everybody and try our best to educate our kids on mental health, on eating the right food, exercising, going out and volunteering, going to church. And Pastor said it before. I remember on 145th Street at the Bowery, I think it was Bowery Bank, we were saving money inside the school in 3rd grade, 2nd grade. But when we got to 6th grade, they took it away from us. We need to bring that back into the school system. Let them save money. Teach our youth how to save money is so important. Let them learn the. Go ahead, Russell.
Yes, financial management. I mean, it's such a key to success to move this generation forward. Such a key.
You're on mute, Nala.
I know. I that's why I said it 3 times, which is a great segue. A great segue to Mind Your Money Matters, which is coming up with Miss Marquette. Miss Marquette, come on.
Oh, Miss Marquette.
So in 2 weeks, I will be doing a webinar, a Zoom webinar, just as we have going on here, to prepare people for, the holiday spending, and just giving people some pointers and tips on, number one, knowing what the numbers are when you call yourself, spreading the love and the joy of the holiday, but you're using a credit card. Many don't understand what think is a sale is not actually a sale if you turn it around and using that credit card at 26% interest, and what that really looks like. Giving them some tips and some tools and possible apps to help them save, but also to let them understand that a lot of times we get caught up in the emotion of the holiday instead of using our head about the holiday. So just giving some financial tips and also some mental mindsets to be ready for the holidays that's coming up, especially in these times. Many will feel like they have to overcompensate because of what has been happening, but just being able to how to open up certain conversations and stuff like that with families, and to be smarter about, this particular season and any other season when it comes to your money.
And Miss Marquette, what's the date on that piece?
We set that 2 weeks from today, and it's not in front of me. Hold on.
November 3rd, is it November 3rd?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, election day, right?
Oh, it is election day. We may need to think
Exactly.
about that. Are the polls closed by 6:30?
No,
No.
the
Uh-oh.
9, let's say 11 o'clock at night, something like that. 11 o'clock at night.
We need to think about that. We need every vote we can possibly get.
It closed at 8 o'clock.
Might be a good idea to change the date.
Say it again, Russell.
Might be a good idea to move the date.
Yeah, we may want to rethink that. Money is important, but there are some things that are immediately.
You know what it was? It originally was for November 4th, the Wednesday, and we thought we would keep it in segue for the Tuesday. So November the 4th is a fine segue for it, which is
So, yeah,
originally planned.
So, Ms. Marquette, where can we find information on that?
We will definitely be posting it as we always through email, through the website, because it is part of the Hill Foundation's segments. So we'll definitely be blasting that information as we have been, but definitely be on the lookout for it and put it on the calendar, November the 4th.
Speaking of the website, we want to thank again Sid Washington from More Graphics for that wonderful website we have that has warm resources, real information that is important, whether it's community policing, whether it's education, whether it's health and wellness, financial resources. So thanks so much to More Graphics for being so awesome and keeping that up to date. Just to pop back to you, Tanya, we so appreciate Principal White, we appreciate your pieces on education, and it's a conversation that we need to revisit again in second semester.
Absolutely, we should. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we'll get back to that. Just to quickly talk about the Hill Foundation real quick. Travis, I'm going to kick it to you, but before I do that, I just wanted to make sure that we read our mission and vision. Our mission, written by Easy Lee, is to lovingly lead family and friends from the Hill back to the Hill to reunite, to reconnect, and to reclaim our love for the Hill. It's to encourage all to be conformed, committed, and contributing supporters of the Hill. Our vision, which is a living and breathing and growing concept as we traverse this new paradigm. We don't know what's coming, but our vision is to be a community that fosters the growth of our children, respects the diversity and humanity of residents and non-residents and supporters, even those 3,000 miles away. And a community that looks towards our elders for the resilience and strength to move forward in power. So we're very grateful for that mission and vision. Our next community meeting is coming up on the 29th, I believe, on Thursday, the 29th at 6:30 p.m. And that information again can be found on www.thehillreunion.com. Travis, it's your floor.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Nala, thank you for all what you're doing. Tanya, the educator, the principal, Stacy, Marquette, and everybody else that's a part of this. We could not have done this without everybody. It takes a village, it takes a family to do all of this. Power, Derek. When Derek gets on the line, everybody sits up straight. I don't know why, but I want that power myself. But thank you, Russell. You work in the Columbia University, you're a professor. Thank you, guys. You guys are just absolutely amazing, man. And again, man, I'm in awe, man. When I'm in your presence, I'm just stuck, because I'm learning so much, because I have a son that's going to school, to college next year, and he's in the 12th grade, and it's scary. The unknown, that's the scary part. What is going to actually happen? Am I prepared for him? And is he prepared? And how can my wife and I prepare him for that next level of his life? So I'm getting all this information. I'm just sucking it in. I'm in awe. I love it, man. I really, really love it, man. And about the money situation, yes, we all fall short. We all feel like we can spend this money, and 2 months later we're in debt for $3,000 and don't know how, So these things we're talking about are so important to all of us. And then Russell, back to Russell, you doing all this stuff for us, educating us, you're a psychiatrist or whatever, a doctor, you're so many different things. You have your own practice.
Psychotherapist. I have my own private practice. And it's my own private, but the Hill provided this for me. The Hill provided this for me, and I'll reveal more about that later. But it's a great thing. We're all a product of where we are and where we're from.
Absolutely. Can you talk a little about?
Pardon me?
Can you talk a little about your book?
Sure. Well, I could, so in general, so I wrote a book about 5 or 6 years ago called Adam and Steve, and it's a nonfiction book, and it's about being same-sex attracted. It's like a guidebook, and so it was well received. It enabled me to stop working for the plantation and work for myself and get my own business. And so that's the great thing about it, And so with that, I was able to get my own company and be a psychotherapist as I should have been years ago, and open up my business outside of my home. But I have contracts that you wouldn't believe that are just great, and I get to be a professor at Columbia University. So it's a good thing. So we have a lot to do, and we will do it. For many years, I was president of the Tennis Association. Hi, Shanique, at 41. And so, excuse me, I took a break, but I'm back.
Good. Thank you, Russell. And as we wrap it up, again, thank you, everybody. But we always hear about what we are doing, Tanya's doing, what I'm doing, Derek is doing. Nyla, can you tell us what you are doing?
Wow, look at you, Theo. Nyla Christian Life Inspired. I am an empowerment coach. My focus is women who are trapped in negative life cycles. I spend my time with what I call the girl on the other side of the door, the woman that's looking for her way out, up, and through. I am a public speaker. I work with government, nonprofit, and profit organizations to bring in programs that are recovery oriented. So I've been doing that now for about 10, 12 years. I am delighted. It is not hard work, it's my heart work. So I'm inspired all the time. And I'm really, really, really excited about Zoom and being able to be part. I've watched you all for the past, I've been gone since 1990 from 49 St. Nicholas Terrace, apartment 64. I am Marcel's child all day long, y'all know that. But I've been gone for a long time, and I come back to visit, and I see you all having maintained and sustained the culture of our reunion, which my mama cooked peas and rice for. My mama dressed some of you guys in the Black Africa fashion show in the first or second reunion. So this is something that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm so excited to be part of this. I'm glad that I can participate from 3,000 miles away, and I plan to be at the next reunion. And talking to my brother man Theo and my brother man Sid and my sister Marquette and Stacy and being able to touch down with Derek, being able to touch down with you guys on a regular basis it's made this COVID time different. We're isolated from the people right next to us, but I'm so much more connected metaphysically and energetically to my home. So I'm gonna probably get emotional. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much to all of you. Yeah.
I mean, to me, mine's gonna be very brief, guys. This is therapy for me. We all know my story, but to be there present right now, it just gives me strength that I can do something, not just for myself, but for my community, for my family, and also for my son, Travis. That's what I'm working for. That's my aim right there.
Yeah, I feel emotional, but we are going to wrap this in the interest of time. We actually came right in at 90 minutes, so we did really well. Again, thank you, Travis, for putting the pieces together with Assemblywoman Inez. Thank you, Marquette, for all of your support with Eventbrite and that information. I know that we've got some work to do, got some information to give to you, Sid, for our website. I'm gonna flash this stuff really quickly before we're out. We did take some time to put this together. So start from the end and work towards the beginning. So this is resources for family for our education piece. Thank you. educator and principal Tanya White. Detective Jason Harper, we're going to keep him in our prayers, keep his family in our prayers, but we want to thank officers Ureña and Olces, and their information will also be on our website. And we want to welcome the new commanding officer for the 2-6, which is Commander Sarubi. And thirdly, to go back to Representative Dickens' office, a big thanks to Lamont Mays for being a coordinator, her chief of staff, and to work directly with Travis Neal Theo Berry on as much as we possibly can to bring resources to our Hill. So thank you to the Hill Foundation. We got a lot of work to do, but 2021 is looking good. If we do this and we keep building this, 2021 is looking fantastic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, guys, anybody else have anything to say they want to close out with? Everybody got 10 seconds.
We forgot to welcome Miss Sylvia is here too, by the way.
Hi, Sylvia.
Yeah, I would like to say something.
Oh, Miss Bruce. Miss Bruce has dealt with the kids for a very long time. She's been doing dancing with the kids. Take it away, sweetie.
So I think I've fought this for long enough, right, Neil? Neil has been very persistent in wanting to keep me involved in the community affairs. I'm about to get emotional. So I think it's duly part because he see how dedicated and committed that I've been to the young ladies of the community. And I love the neighborhood so much. Sometimes it's very discouraging things that happened, but I'm so happy that I tuned in because this is a very mature group, and just hearing the little bit that I heard, I'm so excited. And so thank you, Neil, for never forgetting about me and always including me. And this is very inspirational for me to jumpstart and kickstart back into making sure that Positive Divas are definitely a part of everything that's done in the neighborhood.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have done and what you're doing now with the Divas and the years you was doing it?
So I moved to the Hill 19 I was 1989, I think 1989. Huh? Yeah. About 1989. And so my family is originally from the islands. I've always had a passion for dance. My mother was never able to afford to put me into professional dance school. I just had a really good rhythm. I would dance in school, given the chance. One of my teachers in elementary school loved Alvin Ailey, so we did a lot of Alvin Ailey pieces. And then in after school, I also participated in dance. Then my family had a fire in the home and we had to move to the Hill. So moving to the Hill was a new community. My mom didn't really know of any programs, and so I didn't have anything to do. I had a lot of idle time. So I was like about 16, I think, when I started my first group. I was a part of so originally before I started my first group, because my mom knew that I liked dance and she was trying to find something for me, Monique lived in my building, 41 St. Nicholas Terrace, representing. Monique lived in my building and she had a dance group, and she allowed me to dance with her for the remaining of the time that she was doing dance. And then I started my own group after that. I just kept it going. I've taken breaks in between times because it's really hard dealing with with the parents and getting money together for uniforms and things like that. But for some reason, it's always calling me back. And so the girls that it helps me because it's rewarding to know that what I'm doing is actually touching and helping someone. And so as an adult now, the whole purpose of doing it is because I remember when I didn't have a program to go into, especially in the summertime, and not having anything to do. So now the reason why I do it is to give back to my community and to give the girls something to do so that they don't have idle time, so that they're not running after boys, so that they're not getting into trouble. It's a good outlet. It's a sisterhood. And then a lot of them look at me as a mentor because they're very comfortable with sharing things. So I learn about some people losing their virginities before their parents do. And so one of the reasons why I really want to start it back, and the reason why I tuned in, is because there's a couple of girls that they're persistent with, when are we going to start back? When are we going to start back? And I'm about to turn 40, so I'm getting a little seasoned. So it's harder now to do what I did before, but some of my girls have went off to college. The last group that I had, I reached out to them and they're now willing to give back to the community and come back and help. So we'll get the program up and running again. And hopefully with you guys having our backs, we'll do a lot better.
Shanique, we have your back. And I think we just solved our youth empowerment coordinator piece, guys. I think we just solved. Yeah, I think God just solved that for us. Shanique, welcome. Welcome back.
Oh,
so, yeah. So again, in the interest of time, Travis, we're gonna wrap this piece. This will be available on our website, www.thehillreunion.com. It'll be available on the Hill's official page on Facebook as well. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you want any input, anything we need to address, any pieces that you want to see happen in terms of resources, webinars, tutorials, mentorship, whatever that may be, please write into info@thehillreunion.com. That's DAHILL reunion.com. And that's info@thehillreunion.com. Please visit our website. Again, thank you to More Graphics. Again, thank you to our fearless leader, Travis Berry. We love you. We appreciate you. Theotis.
I love you guys. Thank you, everybody.
All praises. Thank you, everyone.
Good, no.
I'm good. I stopped before I got emotional. I'm good.
You guys
Okay,
have
everyone.
And
Y'all have a
Stacey,
safe evening. Yes, sweetie.
Stacey, I'm present
Yes.
with you, right?
All right, baby.
Stacey,
Thank
yes. I love you all.
you.
Love you
Okay.
all.
Thank you all.